Sadi Goyen writes that this chapter of Tehillim teaches and warns that one should not seek to outsmart himself in relationship with God and His ways. In our Tehillim there is a heading as an introduction. From this chapter we read that it is a lesson that when one is happy and joyous, he should be concerned about his sins, that they may mar his joy. With tshuva, with penitence, his happiness shall endure. The opening words of this chapter are Lama Rokshu Goyim. Why do the nations rage? Also, chapter 10 has a similar opening. Lama Hashem Tamid Barochik. Why, God, do you stand afar? This is an unusual opening for a chapter in Tehillim. A chapter in Tehillim should begin with an expression of song, one of the 10 expressions. Nitzuach, Nigun, Mizmer, Shir, Halel, Tfilo, Brocha, Hidor, Ashrei, Hallelujah. Therefore the Chazal question whether this is the beginning of this chapter. In Brochas Yud, Brochas 10, the Chazal say that this chapter is a continuation of the first chapter. They constitute one chapter, and more so, Kol Parsha Shehoisach Aviva al David, every chapter that was dear to David, Posach bo be'ashrei v'siyam bo be'ashrei, begins with Ashrei and ends with Ashrei. Thus the chapter begins with Ashrei Ha'ish and ends with Ashrei Kol Choseboch. As Tosfos comments, not only Ashrei, but the beginning and end would be similar as with Hallelujah and Hallelujah. The Malbim sees the follow-through in these two chapters. If, as the end of the first chapter reads, V'derech Rishoim Toved, the way of the wicked shall perish, then Lomo Rokshu Goyim, why do the heathen nations rage? And Tosfos Megillah Yud Zayin, Megillah 17 say that, however, chapter 9 and 10, Lamatzeach Amos Habein, Yalom Hashem Tamid Barochik, are two distinct chapters. The commentaries asks, why are chapters 1 and 2 considered as one, and chapters 9 and 10 as two? The obvious answer is because the beginning with Ashrei and the other ends with Ashrei indicate their unity. But Rabbi Avraham Abba Herzl in his Sifsei Chachomim explains, according to the Bach in Orach Chaim Kuf Yud Zayin 117, in Brochos Yud the sages seek to unite the first two chapters so that the 18 Brochos of the Shmoneh Esrei could be based on the first 18 chapters of Tehillim, with the finale of Yir Rotzinim Refi V'Hegyer and Liebe L'Fanecha Hashem Tzuri V'Goyali. But since this verse is at the end of the 19th chapter, therefore the sages, the Chazal, count the first two chapters as one. This was only necessary when the Shmoneh Esrei contained 18 brachos, but after the addition of V'lam Ashinim, there is no difference anymore if we count 1 and 2, or 9 and 10 as one or as separate. The Meiri notes that there is no chronological order to the chapters of Tehillim. The third chapter, Bevorcho Mipnei Avsholem Beno, when he fled from his son Avsholem, and the following chapters deal with episodes that preceded. The Radak comments, there is no explanation for the order of the chapters, but it is sure that the second chapter concerns the time of the beginning of the reign of David. We read in Shmuel Aleph Hey, Samuel 1:5, Vayishmu Plishtim Kim Moshchu es David lemelech HaYisrael, and the Philistines heard that they anointed David as king over Israel. Vayalu kol Plishtim lavakish es David, and all Philistines went up to search for David. And David asked God if he should go out to smite the Philistines, and twice the Philistines were defeated. And for these miracles David sang his praise, Lama Rokshu Goyim, why do the nations rage? Uliyumim riyeh gurik, and the peoples imagine a vain thing. Yisyatzu malchei eretz, the kings of the land stand up. V'roznim nostu yachad, and the rulers take counsel together, al Hashem v'al Mishicho, against God and His Anointed One. Ninatko es mesresemai, let us break their bands asunder. V'nashlicho mimenu avosemai, and cast away their cords from us. As the Malbim explains, every attack upon the Jews is social or political and religious. They want to free themselves from the yoke of the Noahite laws. The Yerushalmi Avodah Zorah 2 comments, Mosrosemo, their bands, this refers to Tehillim. Avosemoi, their cords, this refers to tzitzis. Yoshev Hashemayim Yischok, he who sits in heaven shall laugh. Hashem Yilag Lomoi, God shall have them in derision. Oz Yedabir Aleimo B'Viapoi, then He shall speak to them in His wrath. Uvacharono Yevahalemoi, and vex them in His sore displeasure. V'ani nosachti Malki al Tzion HaKotshi, and I have anointed my king on Zion, the mountain of my holiness. Asapre el Choik, I will declare my decree. Hashem Amar Elai, that God said to me, Bini ato, you are my son. Ani hayom li'ilaticha, this day I have begotten you. As Rashi comments, so says David also in Tehillim Pei Tes, Hu yikreni ovi oto keili v'tzu yeshuosi, because David calls God my father, af oni v'choret neu elyon amalchei eretz. Therefore I have appointed him my firstborn above the kings of the world. Shial mimeni v'yetno goyim nachlosecha, ask, request of me, and I shall give you nations as your inheritance. V'achuzoscha afstei oretz, and as your possession the uttermost parts of the earth. The Medrash Shofar Tov indicates that two other kings got the offer Shial mimeni, Shlomo and Ochaz, and also two others, Avraham and Yaakov. If Avraham said to God, Ma titeli, what could you give me? This surely means that God said Shial mimeni, request. And if Yaakov said, Im yi elokimi modi, if God shall be with me, this means that God said Shial mimeni. Troim b'shevet ba'azel, you shall break them with a rod of iron. Kichli yotze tenapsim, you shall smash them in pieces like a pattern's vessel. V'yatom elochim haskilu, and now you kings be wise. Hivosru shoftei oretz, be instructed, you judges of the earth. Ivdus Hashem b'yira, serve God with fear. V'gilu beroda, then you shall rejoice and shudder, or when the trembling shall come, the day of punishment. So translates the Yerushalmi Brochos Perek Hey. The Chazal in Brochos Lamet 30 teach from this verse, Ein omdim lespalel elo mitoch koved rosh, that one should stand to pray only with seriousness. V'gilu beroda, b'mokom gila shom teheroda, with joy there should accompany fear. Similarly, the Chazal say in Yuma Dalet 4 that the Torah was given at Sinai, V'emo bereses of Isaiah, with fear, with trembling and sweat. V'gilu beroda, Torah is joy, prayer is joy. The Baal Shem Tov asks, seemingly joy and fear is a paradox. Only in serving God and Torah can both these feelings be simultaneous. The Yalkut Shimoni says we read, Es Hashem Elokecha Tira, fear God, and we read, Ivdus Hashem B'Simcha, serve God with joy. But when one prays, Yehei Someach She'oved Le'Eloka She'ein Kamoso Ba'olam, a Jew should rejoice that he serves God, and at the same time it should be with awe. The Zohar HaKodesh in Bamidbar asks, we read Ivdus Hashem B'Simcha, and then we read Ivdus Hashem B'Yira. And so the answer is, in Eretz Yisrael it is with Simcha, in Golus with Yira. Nashku ba penyanaf, attach yourself to the pure wheat, lest he be angry. The missionaries and the Christians translate Nashku bar, kiss the sun. it is important that we know that bar means purity, pure wheat. The Midrash, Bereshis Rabbah, Perek Gimel, relates an allegory. Wheat and chaff argued who is important. For whose sake was the sowing and the planting done? After the threshing, the truth was evident. And so we say, Nashku bar, attach yourself to the pure wheat, otherwise pen ye enough, lest he be angry, v'sovdu derech, and you shall lose the way, or you shall perish. Ki yiva kimat apo, when his wrath finds here the bond with the previous chapter. V'derech reshoim toved, v'sovdu derech. Ashrei kol chosebo, happy are all who put their trust in him. According to the Chazal, this chapter refers to Liosad Lovo, to the distant future. The Midrash Tov says that David with Ruach HaKodesh saw the defeat of Gog and Magog. He asked, Lama rokshu goyim, why do the nations now rage? He got his answer, Yosheb Hashemayim Yitzchak Hashem Yilag Lomo. God in heaven laughs and holds them in derision. A rich man was walking with his son. They were dressed in very elegant, expensive clothing. Along came a drunkard and began to yell, Thief, you have my clothing. The rich man responded, God forbid, I did not steal it. Your wife lent them to me until tomorrow. The drunkard calmed down and stumbled away. The son asked his father, why did you say that? They are not his clothing. The father explained to him, you see, my son, he is drunk. Why should I get into an argument with him and fight with him in this condition? Tomorrow, when he will be sober, he will be ashamed of himself for this episode and keep his peace. So says God, let those heathen wicked rage. The day will come when they shall recognize their sins, their wickedness, and the righteousness of God and his people Israel, and the truth of the Torah. In Avodah Zorah Gimel, the Chazal say that there shall come a day when the Goyim will demand mitzvahs to uphold. To be like the Jews, he shall give them the mitzvah of Sukkah. The sun in its bright heat shall drive them out, and they shall even destroy their sukkahs. And then God shall laugh, Yosheb Hashemayim Yitzchak Hashem Yilag Lomo. The Goyim shall recognize the holiness of Yerushalayim. V'ani nosachti malki al Tzion hakochi. The Yalkut comments, Omar lemelech HaMashiach, Heichon atem avakish lodo. God says to Mashiach, where do you desire to dwell? And he responds, Oif do tzricha shil. What kind of a question is this? Surely al Tzion hakochi. Surely in Zion. This is the mountain where the holiness of the divine providence remained. Kishem shechayovim al mechitzosov v'hu bonui kachayovim al mechitzosov v'hu chorev. It remained the same even after the destruction. As David says in Tehillim Kuf Lamed Beis, Kivoch Hashem b'tzion ivo l'moshev loib, zois menachos yadei yad po eshev ki v'siha. As the